Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 9 and compare it against the Google Pixel 6 Pro and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, definitely when it comes down to both these phones, they're both fairly different from one another, but they're both very good devices and I'm massive fans of them when it kind of comes down to it. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the Google Pixel 6 Pro, which came out back in 2021, on the front of this phone, it's giving you a 6.7-inch LTPO AMOLED display. And overall, right, I think it's a pretty good looking panel. I think it's a pretty good looking display. It's not the brightest panel of all time, but it is a good looking display nonetheless. 1440p, it's a very big panel, hole punch center, right in the display, but also it's a curved display as well. And a lot of people might actually love and prefer these types of curved displays just because they look and feel that great when it comes down to it. I know a lot of people who prefer these types of curved displays, so that might be something really cool that you may be able to experience yourself. So I do think this in and of itself is a super cool thing going on for these types of phones. Now in the Pixel 9, on the other hand, this is a noticeably smaller 6.3-inch OLED display. So it's a smaller display, it's an OLED display, but it does get much brighter. So 2700 is the brightness inside of the Pixel 9. That is a pretty crazy amount of brightness to have inside of a phone. And I do think if I'm going to go through and pick up a device, that in and of itself is such a nice panel when it comes down to it. It's 1080p, so it is a low resolution, but it's still, nonetheless is a very good looking panel. And I do think this is one of those devices that I look at as probably being the better one when it comes down to it. Now on top of that, the Pixel 9's display is a curved display, so that might be something to keep in mind there too. Both have USB Type-C ports on the bottom. Now the Pixel 6 is not, it's kind of like a curved phone on the side, so it's a little bit different. Whereas on the Pixel 9, it's a flat-sided phone. So the Pixel 9 I think is a little bit more of a modern feeling device when it kind of comes down to it. And I do think that in and of itself is just one of those things to kind of keep in mind there. You're going to be getting a little bit more of a modern feeling phone, I think, on the Google Pixel 9 than on the Pixel 6 Pro. But in some ways, the Pixel 6 Pro may actually look better. It's kind of like this weird, complicated thing. On the back side of both these phones, this is also another interesting thing going on here too. So they're both standard glass backs, so no frosted glass backs or anything, just a standard glass back. You're getting a triple camera setup inside of the Pixel 6 Pro. You're also getting a dual camera setup inside of the Pixel 9. So, one additional camera sensor, you could say, inside of the Pixel, 6 Pro. You're getting wireless charging on both. You're getting reverse wireless charging on both these phones as well, which is a really nice touch to have. And I would probably say on the exterior, when you're looking at both, I would say in some ways the Pixel 9 is probably the one that's going to look good, and I think it's a better looking phone in some ways than the Pixel 6 Pro. But I would probably say that with the Pixel 6 Pro, this is one of those phones that looks a little bit more, unique. I like that curved display a little bit, and I like having that triple camera setup on the backside as well. So those are just a few things to kind of keep in mind there too. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there for the most part. Now on top of that, when it comes down to the price tags, the Pixel 9 right now is being sold for around $800-ish, where the Pixel 6 Pro is being sold for around $200-ish in the used market. So the fact that the Pixel 6 Pro is going to be giving you just that small of a price tag, it's a pretty crazy thing because you're going to be getting some, a really good price phone from something like the Google Pixel 6 Pro. And that is a super cool thing to have. On the Pixel 9, it's still more expensive, but it is a better phone overall in a majority of cases. So once again, that in and of itself is another thing to keep in mind there too. Now on top of that, in terms of the camera side of things, this is also a very big thing to keep in mind here too. So with something like the Google Pixel 6 Pro, this phone is giving you a triple camera setup, a 50 megapixel wide, 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, where the Google Pixel 9 is going to be giving you a 50 megapixel wide and then a 48 megapixel ultra wide camera. So this stuff is a very interesting thing because when you look at both these phones, you're going to be getting this somewhat different type of layout when it comes down to it. Because on the Pixel 6 Pro, you are going to be getting that additional telephoto lens, and it is a really nice thing to have. Having that additional telephoto lens like that is a super cool thing to have, and I love having it. With something like the Pixel 9, it's not quite the same case because it is a little, there's a slight difference there. Because with something like the Pixel 9, with that lack of a telephoto lens, it kind of sucks a little bit. But the Pixel 9 overall, I think, is a better camera. You're getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back of the Pixel 9, where the Pixel 6 Pro is basically giving you 4K at 60 on the back, but 4K at 30 on the front. So I'm not really too sure why they didn't just do 4K at 60 on the front, but it's totally okay. But still, I think these types of lenses and these types of cameras are still very, very good. And I'm still massive fans of the way this type of camera has held up, at least from that particular perspective. So I would say the Pixel 6 Pro's camera is still good, but the Pixel 9's camera I think is the overall better one in almost every single way when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side, I think that kind of covers it up there. Now, in terms of the other side of things, like when it comes down to the whole entire, like the software longevity, this is another interesting thing here. Because as of right now, I think the Pixel 6s are still getting Android, 15. They've already gotten the, betas, and it's going to be getting Android 15 officially very soon. Whereas on the Pixel 9, this phone is just getting started with updates. So this phone is going to be lasting for a super long period of time. Like the Pixel 9 is going to be here for so many years to come, and that is something that is super, super cool to see. Like I love having that Pixel 9, and it is going to be a phone that's going to be lasting for such a long time, and it is going to be a pretty big asset for that type of phone. So I feel like this in and of itself is another super cool thing to have inside of something like the Pixel 9. The Pixel 6 Pro, it's pretty much getting like one more version of software, and then I think it's kind of done. Like it may end up lasting longer, but as of right now, that's kind of where we're at. And hopefully, the Pixel 6 Pro gets another 2 or 3 versions of, Android, but as of right now, that's kind of where we're at, and we're going to have to see what ends up happening here for the most part. So at least when it comes down to the software longevity side, that kind of covers it up here for the most part. Now, on top of that, some other big things to keep in mind here too is with the performance. So with the Google Pixel 6 Pro, this was basically the first phone that Google made that essentially had that Tensor chipset. So with that type of phone, you're basically going to be getting a device that is, still good, it's still great, but it was the Tensor G1 chipset with 12 gigabytes of RAM, which was quite a bit of RAM to have inside of a phone. Whereas on the Google Pixel 9, you're going to be getting that, Tensor G4 chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM. So this is another one of those big things to keep in mind here too, because you're going to be getting a lot of RAM and a lot of, capability behind both these phones, which is really nice. I'd probably say that a phone like the Pixel 6 Pro is still good, and it still handles a lot of things that you may end up throwing at that type of phone. Like I really do feel like Google did a really good job with the Tensor G1 chipset and so on and so forth. I feel like the Snapdragon chipsets are still better though. But when I look at both these phones, I think they're both fairly good for the most part, and they're not like terrible devices, by any means necessary. But there's always some things that you can kind of complain about here and there between both. But I think the Pixel 9 by far is a better, more premium, faster phone in basically every single way you can imagine. So overall, to kind of sum it up, I definitely do think a phone like the Google Pixel 9 is the way better phone here in almost every single way. And I think a majority of people would probably agree with that. I think a phone like the Pixel 9 is still very good. If you're going to throw something at a phone, this is going to be a pretty solid device you can kind of have. And I do think the Pixel 9 is the overall better device. I think the Pixel 6 Pro is still a pretty good phone though. Like I feel like that type of device still has a bunch of stuff going for it. It still has a lot of capability. And I do like that phone a lot because of it. So I do think that kind of stuff in and of itself is a super, super big thing to keep in mind. I will tell you again, if you're going to pick up a phone, the Pixel 9 is the best one. But even then, you can buy a Google Pixel 8, a Pixel 7, so on and so forth. Those are going to probably be better than the Pixel, Pixel 6 Pro. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.